posts.
Okay, here we go.
Wednesday night. All right. We've had like 8 posts on Thursday.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here. Or at least I'm here, and you're here. And there's more to come. So I'd like to welcome you to Sacred Grounds, the longest running poetry open mic in the known and unknown universe. Give yourselves a small round of applause. Prepare for further rounds of applause as I do my spiel, my shtick, my embarrassing moment here. I thought that was somebody hissing me in the back. All right. People have signed in. If you haven't signed in, then you let me know and we can take care of that. Let me get my to-do list, which is where am I to-do?
Oh, here it is.
So, since 1972, fine poetry, good food, or good food and fine poetry. And thank Teddy back there. Give him another round of applause, because he's the one that's made this possible. And we have a little bit of a special event tonight, probably. I will explain that in a moment. The feature, Clyde Always, is... Where is he? I think he was over there a minute ago.
He's outside.
Oh, he's outside. Wave hand, he is the feature for this evening. And then we have Marvin Heimstra as the keynote right here. He gives the Queen's wave or the King's wave, the guy in the hat. Give him a little bit of a warm-up. And we have Buford as the mini feature and Owen Dunkel taking the last word. So that should be nice today. And, oh, that over there, that URL is where you can go to find the streaming. There's another URL address which goes out on all the emailings and all the Facebook postings, so that works, but the other one works as well. We haven't changed that yet, so that's why that's there. If you have a cell phone, now's the time to turn it off. I'm going to do that before your very eyes, just to show you how easily it can be done. And so that takes care of this. Tonight's theme is blinkers. Blinkers. And if you know what that means, then you are free to participate. That is not a demand. You do not have to read about blinkers, but if you have something, that's fine. If you wish to take pictures or record somebody, please ask the person who you're doing that for, to, with, or by. Because otherwise, I will assume that you have done that. I won't stop the show to say, did you actually mean to do that? I'm assuming that you've done that. So if someone is doing that and you don't like that, you have to let me know. Don't just wait till the end and say, you recorded me and didn't do it. So,
Some fabulous prizes.
The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann, light reading, as you can tell. If you've never read this book, William Golding's Lord of the Flies, here is your chance. You've never seen the movie. The movie follows the book really, really well. And this is great Russian plays, so if you like Turgenev, Tolstoy, Chekhov, Andreev, or Gorkin, here's your book. This is one of mine, Incite to Riot. It is up here, and I will cautiously sign it for you so that you don't have to worry about those people following you, they'll follow me. Has some nice things in it.
And a few very quick announcements.
If you don't know about Poets 11, here's the information you need to know. That's San Francisco Public Library. You go to their website, look up Poets 11. You can find everything you need to know, but here's the basic information. If you read a poem by somebody else, please, I'll hand you one of these cards. You put your name, the poet's name, the name of the poet. So I always say it's The Charge of the Light Brigade by William Carlos Williams. And if you have, like last week I mentioned, and in the communications sent out, if you have a poem about sacred grounds, tonight we're doing a little special thing, 100 words max. If you have done this, it's about the place or your experience here. We're running a little bit of a contest. Those people who participate, we will do a win by acclamation. Those person who is winning then is entitled to an entree and a drink, courtesy of Teddy. He was just doing this one time to see how it works out, so I have not done this before, but we shall see.
So that's that, and if you want to get
on the emailing list, it's opt-in only, so that's this here. And I think, is there anything else? Oh yes, if you're here, please speak your mind, don't hold back. What's the point of holding back? Why hold back? I mean, really? You're not going to say what you need to say. You can say what you want, but what's the point? Also, as far as the streaming goes, some people tell me that they use it so they can look and see how they looked and performed. Other people want to say, "See me on this," and give someone the address and tell them how many minutes to go in and check it out like that. And some people view in because they can't be here, want to be here, but then they can't, so they do this instead. So there's a little bit about that. It's pretty simple, and I can't think of anything else. Oh yes, Martin Scorsese sends his regrets, along with his wife and 3 children. Their pet dog, who does the tricks, has gone to the vet, very sick. So that's why that's not happening tonight. I'm sorry. And he was, Mr. Samuel over there was looking for, he made the arrangements actually, and was going to get 5% of the door, but that's the way it goes.
All right, so I'm done with that. Give yourself a round of applause. And let me just see. Yeah, that. We got the. Yeah. Let me just see what we got here. Okay, so we have Marvin Heimstra as the keynote. And since he didn't put himself in, I'm going to put himself in the open because the keynote reads a poem by somebody else to start off, and then they come back for the open. So I'm going to sign you in the second spot. And then we have no one in not spot number 1. I think it's like Buford, Jen, John, David, and David Z and David G. Then Cesar, Cara, Stephen Copello, and Aloysius B. Valtazel, which is my nom de plume, Richard, Philip, Clyde, our feature, and then Sparrow. And we got Buford and Owen, but there may be other people coming in who haven't signed up yet. But the first half is pretty much there. So anyway, Mr. Marvin Heimstra will introduce us with the famed keynote of the evening. The famed keynote of the evening. Give him a round of applause. He comes up here. We appreciate that. He's going to be featured here next week, just so you know. So, I keep forgetting to mention things like that.
So the poem by another person is by none other than Dan Brady.
He forgot to bring one. Pick mine. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry about that. I'm old.
This is from the book Orphan City. This is the epilogue. First, take a deep, deep breath. Then open your mouth to let it all out. Be loud about it. Feel your voice vibrating all over the place. Poetry becomes you. It is from your soul. Let out your song, see all the pictures you want to draw. Let the birds hear you. Let love pulse through your mind. Imagine the sky opening up so the angels can look down to see that it is you singing so beautifully that they cry. And you could be singing fears of dreams and sing so loud that church bells answer, chime in, ringing with your poetry, singing along with your heart. Of beautiful things, of nightmares, open your mouth, let it all out. Give it breath and sing like anything for anything and sing wide, loud, and proud. Smile into the sky, just sing. Make one note, howl if you have to, but join in for the love of life.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Marvin Heimstra reading me, of all people. I'm going to put the sign-in sheet over here so people can add their names to the, because there's people coming in. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'm reading myself. Did you put me on 2 or do you put me somewhere else?
I put you on someplace else.
Okay, great.
Right, there. He'll be coming back to read his own. Oh, yeah, sorry. There we go. Buford, then Jen, and then John. So Buford, come on up here. Give him a round of applause, please.
This is a poem I got published a couple of years ago in the Haight Ashbury Literary Journal. It's called No McDonald's for Me. You need to get a job to put yourself through college, Bufy. My father was insistent, so I went by McDonald's, the one that was walking distance from my house, which was also my mother's and father's, my grandparents, 2 of my sisters, as well as my 2 brothers abode. I had a job. One that I had all through high school during the summers, umpiring baseball games all over the city for the Mobile, Alabama Recreation Department. That wasn't enough for my father, and was not enough for me, as it turned out. With college women in my future, and gas the 8 miles each way from the house to school. I started college jobless, really. As it turned out, though, a woman who was a member of the family church was the director of a playground not far from where we all lived. Buford, there's an opening at Navco Playground. You'd be great there, she told me. In addition to knowing this woman from church, I'd umpired baseball games on her playground. So I was hired to take packed cars of children and adolescents to play football, softball, and track all over the city, the games and meets. I even coached my brother on my basketball team. He was a star, a dead-eye shooter who was a perennial all-star in baseball, too. All through college and about a month past my graduation, I carried and cheered on young men, as well as young women in track, all over the sweltering or cold, rainy city, depending on the season. I paid my college tuition in this way and slept in a single bed perpendicular and parallel to my 2 brothers in their respective beds. Every morning our father came into the room and announced, "Working boys, college boys, and high school boys" at 6:30. Up went our older brother John's shade at the head of his bed, and he began reading the newspaper. That is, when he wasn't too depressed to work. That's another story.
Thank you, Mr. Bunton. Give him a nice round. All right. Jen. Come on up here, Jen. She was here last week was your first time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so give her a nice round as she comes up here. You might want to adjust the microphone a little bit. There's a little, the twisty thing on the, there you go. So we can frame you nicely.
It's called the Yellowtail Snapper Queen. Here? Is that? Okay, now you made me change my mind about what I want to read. Okay. Yellowtail Snapper Queen. My childhood is a watery dream, little salmon swimming against the stream. On the boat, me, daughter, trooper, I learned of death from a grouper. Freckled, spotted, brown and red, sheep-like teeth and bulbous head, vomited belly in between big lips, ugly its spastic final flips. Yet beautiful is the triggerfish, rainbow angler with its trident swish. He called me queen of the yellowtail, snappers hooked onto that nail, teaching me a helpful skill, how to clean the things you kill. For best fillets, cut tail to brain, guts and heart washed down the drain. Older we went after dark, bigger bait, looking for shark. Moonlight dancing stars glare, quiet ocean sailors beware. Sometimes he would hook a ray, thrashing silver cut loose away. I swim with these gentle birds and worry not of stings. Effortlessly you skate by, who needs fins when you have wings? Even still I could do without the eel, coiling up and towards the reel. Whatever they wanted, let them take, rod stolen by that glittery snake. Flat white boat drive real fast, then we float, and then we cast. His arms strong and tan, grabbing mullet from a coffee can. Nothing's biting, not our day, water lapping, gentle sway. In the sun I read my books, he brings in the lines, checks the hooks, and then together we will wait. A speckled trout might take the bait. He says it's not a matter of if, but when. I'm older now than he was then. Other side of the jetty next stop, amberjacks hooked before sinkers drop. Galveston, its gulf of brown and rocky sea, miles out to find tuna, just dad and me. Speeding with no land in sight, grab the ropes, hold on tight. Never will I admit that magic is the trick when he boasts the sea has never made her sick. The wavy heat often made my mother ill, but she misses fishing with him still. Though apart for almost all my life, they fished for croakers as husband and wife. Out on the water, amazing grace. In worship, he relaxed his face. Grunts and wahoo, plenty nature has to spare. We search the flats, find one flounder hidden there. He's chased them since he was a boy, a childhood with few memories to enjoy, but someone which took the time to teach him what became sublime, a child again with rod and reel. Aye, aye, Captain, take the wheel. Later years, when there is more, and boats depart from foreign shores, waiting alone in the Caribbean Sea, ghosts like bonefish caught then free, until that last boat runs aground, I look for him wherever fish are frowned. Shall we go, he asks, it's getting late, and just this once I hesitate. Before we pull the anchor and set sail, I will catch another yellowtail. Reel in a snapper with scales of gold, the days grow short, it's getting cold. For all he did for me to shine, the widest net, the surest line, and in return, a child's wish, to bring my father one last fish.
Oh.
Thank you, Jen. All right. That's the way to do it. We have David Zeltzer, then David G, then Cesar Love, Cara, Stephen Copel. So give David Z, Mr. Zeltzer, a round of applause as he comes up here. Warm up the mic. Let's kick it, as they used to say.
You just get me?
Huh?
I think I go.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, John, then David Z, then David G. Sorry, my. Thank you. That's why I read the names over and over again, because people will realize that I make mistakes. Thank you. There we go. Sorry about that. And David Z, you are next. Sorry about that. My bad skills.
So I'm going to update people on my poetry TV thing after I read my poem, because the battery might die before I finish it. So this is just a short poem I found. I have a collection that I want to publish, but I may publish this in the collection, but this I wrote after the collection. So it doesn't have a very good title at this point. It's called Plaid and Paisley, or The Hook, Line, and Stinker. But here's the poem. You wonder who I am. Am I the one? Or am I just a question mark? A clue out of the sky blue. How the sky does not fall, I would not know. Puzzled are you? Am I the Scottish in the jigsaw? I am the sketch artist who paints a picture of today out of nothing whatsoever. Whatsoever exists is part of the whole, but that seems a puzzle to you. But then again, it would be as the day and the whole is just a puzzle anyway. I do think everybody does jump over the moon like the cow, where they fiddle about their past and their lives on earth. Oh joy, what the cat doodled, oh what a riddle. It is hard to add the word anyway in between the lines. That way there is a degree of separation so people don't read too much in between the lines. But also nice to swim in a cell of a Paisley design. Thank you.
Oh, you had an announcement.
See, we're both forgetting. So the 31st, we're having Poetry TV, and one of the guests is David Zeltzer. It's the 31st, 1 to 5, 2727 Mariposa. If you Google me, you can probably find me on Facebook. And we also have an open mic. And where's Stephen? Stephen Copel runs an open mic that we put on YouTube. So anybody who comes can be on the open mic to YouTube. And it runs on public access TV. And that's about it.
Thank you, John. Give him a nice round. He's there. Now, David Zeltzer, for goodness sakes, before David G. and Cara B. and Stephen K.
Thanks to John and Clara. I'm looking forward to being on television. At the end of the month, I get my chance to be famous for 10 minutes.
No, 15, isn't it?
Well, I got 5 minutes.
Oh, yes, then. Sorry. My bad.
Okay, so this first one is kind of apocalyptic. Profound fatigue. A profound fatigue comes over me. I sleep like the hanged. A handful of clean black flesh the stars have settled on. Glorious cipher of the sky, I have learned what the clouds mean on this smug morning. Curses rise up from children like a dark cloud and terrify us. Bells peal. We fumble in the new dark, our mirrored eyes full of grace, chained to the children we believe in. We bleed wild and painful jellies from the television, from the beaten city, so help me. In the doorway, corpses straighten as we hover past. We see a feverish metal skeleton. Can you feel it? Can you feel its humiliation without her? Without her language, can you understand? By 1 o'clock, you understand a deadly warmth. Sink in it, drowning blue and aimless, tangled vines, smooth dark thighs, drowned sinking, blue and aimless. Suddenly choking, shaking your head, you break through the dream of the hanged man. You leave him behind with a quick glance and a swift leap out of his eyes into a clear and shining void. And this one's a little lighter. Maybe a plane for Anne. They don't care about that wreck. They just want to know the sleeping cloudy fire. Never pull us out of the wrecked plane. Dance so quickly the water burns my hands. I wonder how they move the teeth all over the place. The 6 scissors yell at me so many times, trailing smoke and flames. I cut the oil barrel. You invent the scared phone. You never answer. Not enough water? Cut people's heads off and break the glass. You come up the rushing traffic, and afterward guns and music, your brother a fish. But how did you know we bombed them now? Please bomb them now. The girls run down the stupid hill. Waste more sky, but who are you? Some remark. There's not enough smoke coming out of your eyes. I know the bathing suit in the sky dug a hole, and bright fires explode on the hillside under your neck. I sing to the aircraft carrier we're bombing like mad. Watch the movie before the firing squad has dinner. Guns play music in the desert canyon. Shoot everybody, see? They escape top to bottom when the women spend the night in a little room in her basement. This one's dedicated to Larry Burroughs, who was a photographer I admired a lot, who was killed when he was doing a shoot, pun intended, in Vietnam. I was pressed to the back of the camera, pressed back to the chopper, the children in my pockets like flakes of exploding cameras and torn gear sucked in the rotor wash, warring men encased in cells of daylight. On my back now, on steel crumpled in small corners of ammo boxes, walking the floor of my eyes for the light I'll send home, sudden death in the painted sky. Every moment's perception dependent on the last and the one to come. A long line of soldiers see the photographs and ask why I went. Amazed, we all were there, dancing in an Asian garden to our death. I'll finish with a haiku I wrote a couple of days ago.
Very good.
Aspen trees shine for Iris. Springtime aspen trees shine in the sunlight, shadows still, black and silent. Thank you.
Thank you. David Zeltzer. And now, our second David. David G, come on up here and just look for the people who are new here. You get 5 minutes, and I try to give you signals if things go strange, but don't worry about that.
I'm David Gold. I'm going to read a couple of old poems. Cunning Old Fury. I don't want to tell you what I'm feeling, because when I peek out my hole, there you are, perched like a cat on a stool, eyes focused in the target of your eventual sudden bony musky-furred lightning judgment. You'll catch me out. I've been feeling sorry for myself again. I don't want to tell you what I'm feeling, because in a vacuum you can't hear yourself cry and bore, no, infuriate yourself to further tears. Your hungry baby self, smelling of milk and shit from before words. I don't want to tell you what I'm feeling, because tears condense around words, and I need my eyes clear to duck the next rock. I don't want to tell you what I'm feeling because I'm busy telling myself over and over, it wasn't the baby hated himself. It was my mother hated motherhood whenever my shit got on her hands. When I was a toddler, she seemed to like to accuse, you did that deliberately. I've had this argument with myself so often, I've gotten known in the building as the guy in the basement who's always talking to himself. I'm afraid to talk to anybody else. Of course, I make a living talking to people now. It's chronic agony, but sometimes I'm good at it. And it's all for good causes, right? We're saving the world with plastic. Sir, ma'am, will that be Visa or MasterCharge? My mother is coming to visit me in December. What I'm feeling is helpless in the presence of the absurd. I might as well tell a wooden Indian what I'm feeling, or a wooden white man like my therapist. As people. Anyway, for all the talking I do to myself, I'm afraid to tell myself how I feel. So why do you think I should want to tell you? This is a shorter one called Voice Letter. Call me back after the election. Call me back when you're fully detoxed. Call me back with the point of the joke. Reverse the charges. Call me back when you've decided who you are when you're alone. Call me back, let's have brunch and network. Call me back, I long for the sound of your voice abusing me again. Call me back, I'm sorry, it was all my fault. Call me back, I promise I won't hurt you if I can help it. Call me back and let's make ugly music together. Call me back if the sky develops any cracks. Call me back if you need anything. Call me back, but only if you feel like it. Call me back if you have a phone. Call me back, tell me something new. Call me back, I miss you.
David Golub, thank you. Cesar Love, please, come on up. Give him a nice round as Cesar comes up to the floor. We got Carvita, Stephen Gopel, Lawson B. Baltazel, Richard Sanderell, Philip Zimmerman before our feature. Clyde Always, the Clyde Always Show.
So, good evening, Sacred Ground. So,
Good evening.
want to remind everybody, come on down to the Mission District this Friday and Saturday for the Florida Canto Literary Festival. We've got starting 5:30 at the 24th Street Bar Plaza will be the opening ceremony, and there's going to be a Friday night of poetry readings just up and down 24th Street, and Saturday as well.
Kim Shuck's going to be in one of them.
Yeah, Kim Shuck's going to be at going to be sharing the mic with Nellie Wong and Neely Charkowski. This will be at Sacred Grounds at 7 on Friday, but there'll be things happening before and after. So come on down to the
Alley Cat Books.
That's right. Yeah.
I was going to say.
This is all blend together. Yeah. They don't actually. They have different characters. Also, if you've got any kids that you want to turn into great poets, Virginia Barrett is putting on a workshop Saturday at 12 noon. This one is at Alley Cat Books. From 12 to 2, it's a children's workshop. If you know Virginia Barrett, she edited Feather Floating on the Water, so she knows how to turn young minds into great poets.
She certainly does.
Probably can turn old minds into great poets, too.
We hope.
But they're not allowed.
But might be too late, you never know. Okay, so I have, now that my plugs are over, I've got one poem. It's called Talk, T-O-C-K. A minute hand ticks the full dial. It crosses the 3, the 6, the 9, the 12. But the hour hand is still, the hour hand is dormant. This day will not finish. This day will not begin. This morning will not finish. This morning will not begin. Water boils, while trains are late to depart, while ships have yet to arrive. I wait for the phone, I wait for the letter, I wait for an answer. Water boils, the clock on my wall continues to tick, a sound of flea bites, and to tick, a sound of scratches, and to tick, a sound of scabs, and to tick. I wait for the call, I wait for the mail, I wait for a question. How I long for the deep timbre of talk. Mammoth bells in rhyme with the hours. Elephant hooves in pulse with the earth. Shadows of mountains toll in the day. shadows of mountains tolling the day. Thank you.
Oh, this is our love. And for the Canto this weekend. All right. And now we have one of San Francisco's finest stage personality people. Miss Caravita has kind of come up here and wow us as is her wont. And then we have Stephen Coppell and others. So give her a nice round of applause. Can someone help her lower the boom there? Thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate that. Let me zoom in.
Step right up, ladies and gentlemen. Peer into mysterious darkness. Concentrate, concentrate. There he is. Shabby old stage magician, all frayed around the edges. Now you see him, soon you won't. Disappearing by degrees, lost in haunted shadows, becoming a specter, disheveled, moth-eaten, nary a trick up his ragged sleeve. He shuffles around in black velvet threadbare cape, the faded red satin lining falling apart at the seams. In long forgotten pocket, a soiled deck of cards, missing jacks and queens. Down at the heels, out of style, pointy Italian shoes, been years since they had a shine. All worn the hell out. What a shame, unkempt, forgotten, looks like hopeless stumblebum, with one foot in the grave. Time has not been kind. The show is over. Someone tell him. Long ago, the rabbit hippity hopped out of the captured top hat. Bye, bye, bunny. Never to be conjured again. Lovely white doves flew the coop. Gone, gone, the debonair flare, unable to take a proper bow, body arthritic, stiff and stooped. Gone, gone, the flawless trickery. Once you saw it, now you don't. Elegant sleight of hand, gone. Poof, up in a puff of smoke, astounding illusions, gone. Along with most of his teeth, impeccable posture, meticulous, thin mustache, improbable jet black hair, gone, all gone, gone. He is a shambling testament to the fact that nothing lasts forever. So sad. The old razzle-dazzle skedaddled. No more polished patter, quick-witted lingo making us believe in magic. Gone, gone, not a ghost of a chance to ever grace the stage again. Beautiful assistance. Dematerialized, levitated, sawed in half. Misdirections, poised all sexy, high heels, fishnet stockings, sequins, pasted on, beauty, pageant, smiles. Gone, gone. Some were lovers, two were wives. Gone, gone, to God knows where. Gone, the sheer fun of being fooled, suspended disbelief, astonished gasps, never to be heard again. How did he do that? No borrowed time has not been kind. A stranger to himself, master of deception, gone, gone, hands no longer quicker than failing eyes, too unsteady to wave a magic wand. An embarrassment, senile old sorcerer, disoriented, confused mind, forgetting to say abracadabra, alakazam, gesundheit. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, boys and girls. Dry your tears. No more magical mystery tour. Gone, gone, disappeared into smoke and mirrors. Hocus pocus. Final disappearing act. Gone, no more ta-das, oohs or ahs. Move along, folks. Show's over. Nothing more to see. The magic is gone. A footnote. Don't bother to clap. Tinkerbell is dead. And I posted one of these on the bulletin board. And I'll just read it straight ahead. April is the cruelest month. So in May, Jerry Perez is throwing a ranch party at his place for Bert and Beckett to help Eric pull the bookstore out of the hole. So bring your checkbook, on the house, live jazz, etc. No host bars. No host bar, proceeds to the bookshop. This is Saturday, May 21st, 1 to 7. I'll call up Bert and Beckett to get the address where the party is at Jerry Perez's place. And let's show support, because as Jerry Perez says, we are an endangered species. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlita. Thank you for the announcement. All right. That brings us to Mr. Stephen Coppell.
It's my pleasure to be here with all of you fellow writers, poets, novelists, musicians. It's a blessing to be here. You might not know if you're relatively new for this year or for a couple of years prior to tonight, that yes, this particular fascinating corner place has been a spot for attracting us and people like us for maybe 30 plus years. So there is a definite history. Thank you, Dan. There's a wonderful history about this place, and so we, those of us who've been coming here for a number of years, those of us who've been here for 2 or 3 nights, or the very first time, I'd like to make sure that you realize that this place has historical significance, and we're very pleased to share each other's interest and even passion with our language, and so it's a delight for me to stand up here and to say what I'm saying as a means of welcoming all of you. Especially I want to mention the work of John Rhodes, who's sitting up against in the north wall by, he was here earlier at the microphone, and he's quite serious in suggesting that if you feel at all interested in being filmed, he will, with his camera and excited mind and focused heart, be able to work with those of you who show up from this particular evening and film you with his best intentions. The open mic portion of his program begins around 3 p.m. on May 31st. The location is the corner of Bryant and Mariposa Streets. It's easily reached by number 16 bus, as some of you know already, and just walk a short couple of blocks south from that intersection of Bryant and 16th Street. And the filming takes place on the 2nd floor. I've been involved with him. Clara has been involved herself, bless her heart, in the film, the inviting and the filming of fellow poets and writers. And it's really a lot of fun to participate. I mentioned John again because it's his concept basically, and he is very faithful in editing any and all of the shows so that all of you, if you decide to show up or be invited, as is David Z to my right here, for this coming show, will be filmed with a great deal of focus, and all of you are welcome to come, should you wish, for that open mic, again at around 3 p.m. On the 31st, and we'll take care of making sure that all of what you do there is comfortable and that you're engaged in a smiling, heroic kind of way for the first time. Maybe it's the second or third, but I'm going to stop at that particular point and share with you a little frivolous piece. I write frivolous verse, and it's a joy for me to do so. So the piece that I'm offering tonight, can I put it down the right? This is entitled Out on a Limb. A slender sprig, vivacious, daring, yet lacking topmost shoots. Laurel left school with longtime bud Douglas fir after she was voted most poplar in her juniper year. First sprucing up the room. in which she sprouted roots, even varathaning oak floors. For younger sis, Magnolia. Her ma droned on and on about getting lost or laid in the dark forest outside their door as a loaded beetle crawled away from the gate. Hope I can forgive you, Y-E-W. She called out high in the Ponderosa for one last view. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen Copel. Okay, let me get this organized here. Thank you. All right. And zoom out and out. There we go. That brings you to me. All right. And I know people are saying out there, unfortunately.
So I will be brief about this. I'm going to do some shorts tonight. This one is called Red Juicy. Red Juicy cannibals eating meat. This jungle world dog eat dog rat race. Their cancers revolution eating them out. Capitalists chewing fatty beef, waiting for the special of the day. Working man's hands in rich brown gravy. Oh, thank you. That's a shocker. See, that's the introduction for this one, which is even more shocking. Sometimes shock value gets people go, why did he actually say that? This is very short. It's called It Suits Him. In uniform. Hard penis neurosis. Retired highway patrolman. Cruising for runaways. Okay, that's like your X-rated weird axe murderer thing. See, now I'm going to lighten it up just to show you there's light in here. Okay, that's not light. This is light. At night, somewhere in the world, in a house near the sea, after her calm of knowing years, she still has an unreachable ideal, and he is afraid to reach. At night, somewhere in the world, in a house near the sea, they are together. He reaches, holds her hand, says that love is always incomplete, imperfect. But each of them, in their own way, loves now. They say this to each other's answers. At night, somewhere in the world, in a house near the sea, as the gray moves over still waters, a ship sounds.
So that's not that bad. Okay.
And I will close with this one because you're all poets, so this is a poem to poets and poetry. What words can do. Why have I chosen the solitude of what I call the invisible life? The miracles of which pass unseen, the evidence of which is strife. Of course, nature having sympathy with my cause and its effects, for the world still is ever loving and sublime, or so my hopes expect. Now, to the ordinary or common eye's view, life's road is easy to envision. One manages the simple wants and plots a course of temporal acquisition. But mystic eyes see beyond that veil, and so I'm free, not held in such a thrall, for in this life do I wax ecstatic whenever my soul is touched by glory withal. Such events are likened to the sun for all their showering warmth of love, and I am wrapped in a fold of considerations I can't truly speak well of. Be curious, then, and comb words such as these, and you might seek that place where a love by which your soul may take wing has joy pursue thy face. It surpasses all understanding and the varied delights of this redolent world by far. It is found in the pursuit of the Spirit's inspirational mind. It's as bright as any star. It shines fast in the depths of peace, sounds the soul, and holds all life dear. Is enamored of all things human, and provides us insight both perfect and clear. Thank you, my friends.
Thank you. My mother thanks you. My brother and Uncle Scott, his best friend's neighbor, thanks you. Let me see who is next. Wait a minute. That must be Richard Sanderell who's getting ready, because I said that many, many times. Give him a round of applause as he comes up here. It is Mr. Sanderell. And then we have Philip Zimmerman and then our feature, Clyde Always. And Fred McMurray is busy decomposing, so he will not be here. Someone remembers Fred? I like that.
Is anybody reading a poem about sacred grounds tonight?
You might be the first one.
Did anybody write one?
Did anybody do that? Oh, so we have three. Okay, so then remember it's going to be by acclaim, so we'll take care of business. Don't worry about it. I got to put your name over here though. Richard Sanderell.
Well, there's two people in the audience. I was going to read my original one, but I'm going to read something different, and I'll end with the piece for.
Oh, okay. I'll explain that later when I have a chance to explain. I don't want to interrupt them any more than I already have.
This is called My Aunt Jemima. A German white man dresses as Aunt Jemima in the late 50s. Remember, this is Ohio, next door to Indiana, home of the largest Klan organization during the 20s, where remnants still remain today. It's a Catholic German breakfast. Pancakes are the main fare. It's a way of raising money for God's church. As a child, not knowing the racial politics, but slowly learning, when I looked at the Aunt Jemima pancake box, I saw in her face a kind and gentle soul. This was someone I would like to be with. I was unaware of the politics of the mammy and how this image was crafted to dispel the issues of slavery. The black woman who actually raised these white children became these white children's mother. But when those children grew up, they forgot about her love and theirs for her. Just about all, if not all, became racist by claiming they had outgrown that phase. Bill Sandra was my stepfather, and he dresses up as Aunt Jemima with blackface from black shoe polish and bright red lipstick. His face shines from the shoe polish and is dressed as the mammy character. I knew this was ugly. Bill was the first person who used the N-word, and I hated him for it. His dressing as a black mammy furthered his mocking of black people and my further dislike for him. Fort Recovery, as well as most rural Ohio, has few, if any, people of color. Fort Recovery had a law until 1964 that no blacks could be in town after 6 o'clock. So they hated each other for religious reasons. None of these at the pancake breakfast ever said they were offended. All seemed to go along with this overt racism. I never heard any criticism from the church or the town of 1,200 people. All was well in Fort Recovery, Ohio. And they wonder why I ran screaming from Ohio.
Why did they run?
This is a short coyote story. Coyote wonders. Coyote sits in cafe. Two-legged are involved on their devices. Students, workers, riders, tech heads. Some check each other out the side of their eyes, while others are zoned. There's much activity among the silenced. A house homeless man comes in and rants poetically of how he sees things and then leaves while no one except one listened. It is Coyote, who gives ear, who wonders who are the crazy ones. The ones who are silent are the ones who rant and rave. A couple comes into the cafe during a tango. Heads rise as the couple makes the round of the cafe and tangles back out. Heads go back to their devices. No comment made. Coyote gives a howl of approval and wonders how the two-legged became so dulled. Coyote wonders, do these two-legged really care for each other, or do they just go through the motions? So much activity among the silenced. And if I can remember the name of the piece for Sacred Grounds. Oh, God, don't tell me.
May I advise them of what this has evolved?
Yeah, you do that.
Okay, see, so last week Teddy offered to an entree and a drink to the poet who brought in a piece about sacred grounds, history, experience, or whatever, and that the winner would be determined by acclamation. So we have 3 poets who made that, decided to do that today, and so he's going to read his, and then we have Clara Sue and Hal Robbins who are also going to be reading.
And the rule was
regard.
it has to be between 50 and 100.
Yes, no more than 100, but don't.
I'm right at 100.
It's all right. There was.
Well, you know, I worked and crafted it down to 100.
It's all right.
Okay, it's all right. It may not be that good. The living. What?
When do we vote on this?
I'm not. That has yet to be organized.
You better do it
After we hear all the readers.
I guess after we hear all the readers.
Yeah, that's
I think Dan holds a shoe over our head. And
There we go.
No, it's not. I like the shoe idea. Not my shoe, though. It stinks.
All right, the Living Sacred Grounds Cafe. The grounds sacred, blessed by the ancestors on the lands of the Ohlone. There now stands a sacred cafe where hosts welcome poets, writers of all sorts, comes with flows of the poet's cachet. It waits for me as I live my life, this land of sacred grounds. Right, but not ready, writing boils all its toil and trouble. Now it no longer waits for me, I am here. We tell our truths, stories, lies. Doors open who come from here, from lands from afar, to the lands of the Sacred Ground Cafe.
Thank you so much. Give them a round, please.
Thank you. Oh, and I want to, to your comment, I want to reiterate, the mission is alive, it's vibrant, always has been, but it seems like there's a lot of stuff going on down there. Poets, expose yourself. Some beautiful stuff going on down there. Yeah. And they're going to be, some of them are going to be coming out here, and we're going to mix this stuff up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have Amalia Alvarez is going to be here pretty soon. We just made that arrangement. All right, give it a nice round. And now, Mr. Philip Zimmerman will come up to the mic, and he will be the ultimate, as opposed to the penultimate and anti-penultimate reader before our fabulous feature, the wonderful and always happy Clyde Always, who is always here and always happy and always Clyde.
All right, just a short one here. The trees, they caught your dreaming light as you fled along a glass-lined night, unraveling your breath, a ragged little beast, shut out in the cold. Thank you.
Nice. Always short and sweet. I always want to read more, please. It's not that he's shy. All right, let me go back up there. I'm sorry to make you move. You're out of my way yet again.
My fault.
It's not your fault.
I'll take the blame for everything because I love taking blame. I have no guilt. Can't make me feel guilty. I had an Irish-Italian mom. She gave me the best of both worlds. I'm going to introduce this person very shortly, very briefly. He is good. That's my joke. Clyde Always. I met him very shortly after he came to the city. He came here and he just kind of like went hog wild. And I couldn't believe that he went hog wild. And then every time I've seen him, it's like, how do you top that? Well, he does. How do you top that? Well, he does. Clever, fascinating, wild, crazy, intellectual, steamy. I would call him a steampunk poet, but he wouldn't like that, so I'm not going to call him a steampunk poet. I love that term, steampunk, though. But rather than hear me go on and on about him, I'm going to have you hear him go on and on about him. Are you ready?
We're ready. He's ready. Give him a big round of applause. Mr. Flag always, the flag always show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, come on, step right up, folks. Go and grab yourself a front row seat before the gong and the going fast. You don't want to miss this. It's time for another exciting installment of the Clyde Always Show with me, your always clever, always handsome, always charming host, Clyde Always, and I ain't no common carnival barker. I am the Bard of the Lower Hate, and this is the tale of Manny and the hot dog cart. Once upon a time, not too long ago, in the Mission District of San Francisco, there lived a man named Manny. Manny had come all the way from the wilds of the Yucatan to have a go at the American dream. So one day, Manny, with his own two hands, with scraps that he found for free, built himself a hot dog cart on wheels. And he bought a big tank of propane, and some links, and some bacon, and buns. Not to mention the onions, and mustard, and hot sauce, and tinfoil, too. And that very night, Manny set up on the corner of 16th and Valencia Streets. And the people walked by, and they bought hot dogs. He sold out his whole greasy stock, and he went to bed rich, and fat, and happy. The next day, Manny returned, his cart bursting with supplies, only to find no less than 7 other guys set up on the same corner, slinging hot dogs themselves. They'd stolen his idea. Manny set up and sold a few, and he'd started to eat his losses when a cleaning lady, laden with brooms and mops and buckets and rags, came up to him, and she spoke to him in Mayan, his native tongue. She said, "I'm a wicked witch. I got some here that could clean up the competition." Well, Manny said, "What do you want in return, witch?" She said, "You'll know that when the time comes, Manny." And Manny agreed. She then handed him a miniature handheld vacuum cleaner and hobbled away. So Manny stood there a minute, the vacuum in hand. Then he crossed to the other side of the street. He crept up behind a man with a stand, and he took aim, and he flipped the switch, and believe it or not, he sucked up the whole operation. Man and fire and meat and onions and all, and he did it again, and again and again, and until his was the only stand left, at which point 3 mariachis walked by, not singing, but munching away on pupusas. Well, Manny marched on down to the pupuseria, and he sucked up all those tasty pockets, at which point a hipster chick walked by, nibbling a slice of pizza pie like a rat on a cracker. So Manny sucked up the whole pizzeria, and most of the building attached, and the water mains burst, and sparks flew, and people screamed, "Ah!" And the sirens roared to the block. And the police surrounded Manny, clubs aloft. But Manny sucked them up. And he sucked up their cruisers and vans and snarling dogs. Then he sucked up the buildings and wires and poles. And he sucked up the sidewalks and sewers and streets. Then he sucked up the whole city. Then he sucked up the whole world. Then he sucked up the planets and cosmos and stars. And then Manny, he stood quite alone on a field of desolate white, with a vacuum in one hand and his sorry hot dog cart in the other. At which point, a man appeared to Manny. The man was short and tall. The man was fat and skinny. The man was ugly and handsome. The man was black and white and yellow and red and brown. He was an everyman. He snatched the vacuum from Manny's hand, and he spoke to Manny in Mayan, which, as you know, is Manny's native tongue. He said, "What have you done?" Manny lowered his head and replied, "I don't know." The everyman said, "I shall have to punish you for this, Manny." And Manny agreed. The everyman thought for a moment and said, "I'll send you back to the place of your birth 1,000 years before you were born, and there you can live out the rest of your days." And just like that, Manny awoke, as if from a dream, atop a pyramid, his back on a block, and his hands and feet restrained below him were writhing masses, screaming for his blood, and above him was a familiar face grinning, a vile grin, none other than that of the cleaning lady, wielding not a feather duster, just a razor-sharp shard of obsidian. Meanwhile, the everyman on the field of white pointed the vacuum straight out and he powered it into reverse. And out popped the planets and cosmos and stars. And the earth that fell right into place. And the city streets lined up all square in a grid. And the people, they hit the ground walking. And at last the vacuum sputtered and coughed. But believe me now, folks, I would swear I would never tell you no humbug. That night, all across the mission, it rained down a torrent of pizza pie slices and pupusas and bacon wrapped hot dogs all smothered in onions. And down the street walked the cleaning lady, Manny's soul buried deep in her pockets. She snagged the hot dog right out of the air. She took a big bite and she snickered. Damn, Manny! These things suck. This next little ditty, it's called Joni Baloney, the Queen of the World, and it's going out to all the ladies in the audience. It goes like this. On a regular street in a regular town, there lived little Joni Baloney, who would wake every day with a groan and a frown to a breakfast of cold macaroni. See, Joni's old mommy was not very nice. In fact, she was really quite awful. She'd waste all her time on her mobile device and not make her daughter a waffle. And on Joni's birthday, while walking to school, she cried all alone to her noodles, ignoring the taunts from the bullies so cruel and the rich girls with miniature poodles. In class, Mr. Teacher was mean as a snake. His computer was too, not to mention, when Joni complained of a bad tummy ache, he locked the poor girl in detention. And there Mrs. Principal played with her phone while Joni sat hands neatly folded. Whenever she shifted or muttered a moan between emails, the principal scolded when suddenly in through the window there flew on the back of a Pegasus pony George Washington wearing his uniform blue, and he rescued and flew off with Joni. Together they giggled their way through the sky, traversing across every ocean, while snacking on slices of hot apple pie and sipping down silliness potion. Then arrived in Iphon, where the big factories for producing devices were blazing. And bravely they freed all the young iPhonees who kissed them and shouted, "Amazing!" Returning triumphant, they fell with a crash and were greeted with hoopla and hollers, with presents and gifts and with cards full of cash. It was Joni's face there on the dollars. Then George flew away, and to home Joni shot when she thought that she couldn't feel gladder. "Happy birthday," said Mommy. "The iron is hot, and I'm nearly done mixing the batter." Boom. Thanks, everybody. Oh, next we got the tale of Mean Marvin, another true story for you. Once upon a time, there was a little boy with a scruffy ginger top and freckles all over his face, and his name was Marvin McManahan, and Marvin was a meanie. He was a downright vicious bully. He loved to smack the other little boys with skateboards and baseball bats, and little girls, he'd stab them with pencils. He had a whole closet full of assorted knickknacks and bouncy balls and video games that he robbed or lifted from the other kids at school. Marvin was only 10 years old, but he was already the most hated person in his whole town, seeing as how he was such a miserable and sadistic little prick. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, maybe this Marvin kid had a bum deal. Maybe he had abusive parents or something, right? Unfortunately, I know this was not the case. See, Marvin's mother was a kind and loving homemaker, and Marvin's other mother was a mild-mannered architect, and even they were horrified of their son. They'd often curse under their breath. They'd say, "Must have been that lousy sperm donor." But I digress. It so happens that one summer day on a sunny corner of a secluded playground, Marvin was burning assorted insect victims under a magnifying glass. See, he loved to torture all things that could be described as puny, and most especially those that couldn't easily defend themselves. When, all of a sudden, out of the bushes came another little boy whom Marvin didn't recognize, but he saw right away that the boy was skinny and wispy and weak. So Marvin dropped his magnifying glass, came running up to the kid, grabbed him by the scruff of his neck, and shouted right in his face, "Give me whatever you got, you little runt!" Now, Marvin had employed this tactic many times before, and it always worked perfectly, so you can imagine his surprise when that little boy just stood there, stoic and brave, saying and doing nothing. Marvin raised his fist and growled, "Didn't you hear me, twerp? You better give me what you got now, or I'm going to knock all your teeth out and stick them on my pillow tonight." But still, the little boy stood with his shoulders square and his chin held high and did not produce any bubble gum or lunch money. Marvin roared like a bear, and he stomped his feet, and he cracked his knuckles one by one, and that's when the little boy started to hum. And he hummed the most beautiful song, and it started out low, and it built, and it built, and it rose to the grandest of crescendos. In fact, it was the most perfect and ingenious musical performance ever delivered here on planet Earth. But the hard heart of Marvin McMahon remained unmoved as his fist plowed through that little boy's face. And then Marvin looked on in horror as the entirety of that little boy's body disintegrated into a massive, menacing cloud of bugs of all shapes and sizes and colors. Bugs from all over the world. And they swarmed him and bit him and stung him and creeped. He crawled all over his face and his neck. Marvin screamed and pleaded and begged for help, yet through all of his desperate sobs and moans, no one came rushing to his aid, not a soul. And boom, the bugs flew off in different directions, and Big Bad Marvin just sat there hugging his knees and sucking his thumb and weeping and blubbering to nobody at all. The next day, Marvin was late for school, but he arrived just in time for show and tell. And he was dragging behind him 2 gigantic black plastic sacks full of all the toys and goodies he'd stolen over the years, and he returned them all one by one with a somber and sincere apology. And then Marvin took his seat and sat with folded hands and looked on attentive and polite and pleasant as one of his fellows stepped up to the front of the class and said, "Hey guys, look at this, these are my Madagascar hissing cockroaches." And that's when Marvin's underpants went from clean to dirty. This portion of the clock all the way through is part of the following.
Vegetarian bagel shop. Vegetarian bagel.
No turkey, no tuna, no salmon, no ham, no bacon, no salami, pepperoni, prosciutto, anchovy, no bologna, none of that. No lard. No corned beef, roast beef, no pork, pate, foie gras, no tongue, no tripe, no chicken breast, no goddamn highfalutin lobster salad neither. Cause it's a vegetarian bagel shop. Vegetarian bagels. Vegetarian bagel shop. Vegetarian bagels. So what do they got? Got lettuce, got pickles, got olive oil, hummus and tahini, got pepperoni, got lots of garlic, got sprouts, got cucumber, celery, some peanut butter, celery, and cream cheese, tofu, quinoa, kidney beans, local, organic, handcrafted, sustainable, fair trade, reclaim, reuse, recycle, compostable packaging, house green, and it's all gluten-free. Home at the Vegetarian Bagel Shop. Vegetarian bagels. Vegetarian bagel shop. We now return to our regularly scheduled broadcast. Next on the agenda. This next one's going out to the landlady.
Oh, in my youth, I used to tramp the coast of California. Mighty fun it was to camp, though. Bitter cold, I'll warn you, so. Thus I sought a room to let, just something warm and cozy. And otherwise would not have met the lovely Lady Rosie. She ran a humble boarding house, the western side of the city. She had not a family nor a spouse, but loved a cat named Kitty. Her smile would flash a blinding blur. Her eyes were gray and steely. Her curves were round as peaches. Her demeanor touchy-feely. Now, quick the weeks they came and went, and always short on money, so Rosie said, in lieu of rent, "You work for me now, honey." Well, first I hosed her gutters out. I did it fast and steady. Then next she had me lay some grout, and boy, my brow was sweaty. I cleaned her carpet, made it gleam. The whole time I was humming. I poured her puss a splash of cream. She found that quite becoming. But then she sent me on my way. Abruptly so and shocking. I packed my bag in time to say goodbye. Started walking. These days my youth is gone and dead, and money ain't no issue yet. Still I lay awake in bed and weep into a tissue, and reminisce when to my name I never had a penny, and wonder if she does the same, but tenants had she many. Thanks everybody, that's Langley.
I'm the Bard of the Lower Haight, and this is... Thank you all for being here, by the way. You guys are great.
We love you.
We love you, Clyde.
Right, say it.
Right, always, ladies and gentlemen.
This is the origin of the gods. Once upon a time, in a wicked city just like this one, there lived a disgusting bum named Jimbo. Jimbo had tangled, dirty blonde hair and a face that was swollen up and purple. Seeing as how he drank 1.5 gallons of Rod Gut moonshine a day, which he purchased in Chinatown for $0.25 a pint. Jimbo was very articulate, but he was also very horny. Oh, he worked gay on any woman he saw, the finest poetics he could muster, but always to no avail, seeing as how he smelled just like the city dump. But one day, while he was shooting up in the bathroom of a corporate coffee house downtown, a goat man appeared to him in the mirror, and the goat man said, "So says the fawn behind the glass. If sex you seek to gain, go. Grab a rag and wash your ass, and comb that gnarled mane. When next you meet a foxy lass, she'll know you as James Vane." Then poof, the goat man disappeared, and James did as he said and walked out of that bathroom door, disgusting bum no longer and never again. From that point ever after, he knew in his heart that he was in fact the most handsome poet who had ever lived. He spent the rest of that afternoon spouting verse to the rooftops until he came upon a dimly lit and deserted bar where the bartender was fast asleep and snoring loudly. So James walked in and helped himself to a drink, and noticed against the far wall of the pool room a cabinet, and it was secured heavily with locks. And James, and from within the cabinet came the sound of a gentle knocking. Sounded to James Vane like a plea for help, so cleverly he picked the locks with one hand while he snacked casually on olives with the other, then fell to his knees. As the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen stepped out of the cabinet and looked down into his eyes, beaming sun spray out of the back of her head, which, James noticed, was beautifully adorned with none other than the pelt and ears of a fox. She yanked his hair viciously, but spoke softly as a butterfly as she said, "I've been waiting for you, darling." And the words flowed freely from his heart as he replied, "I want to fuck you." To which the goddess giggled and summoned her magic and snapped her fingers twice, dissolving her flimsy floral print dress and revealing a tuft of solid gold pubic hair, a couple of daisies where her nipples ought to have been. Then, right there on the pool table for 5 solid hours, they engaged in every insidious sex act ever invented and created a few new ones of their own as well. And they recorded all of it in incredible detail in a tiny leather-bound journal and fell fast asleep in each other's arms. They were awakened a couple hours later by a man who shook them hard, saying, "Get your asses up!" They looked around to find the bar packed shoulder to shoulder with beards and beanies and skinny jeans and neck tattoos. The man indicated a stage at the front of the room that was spotlit and set and shouted frantically, "Let's go! You only get 5 minutes up there! Come on! They, in a sort of a daze, walked naked, hand in hand to the microphone, and stared out into the eager eyes of the audience seated before them, and knowing not what else to do, raised the leather-bound journal between them and cracked it open, and bang! The goat man burst through the swinging doors, bringing hurricane winds behind him. And he pressed a silver fiddle to his beard, and he saw a blast of fanfare, shattering every piece of glass in the bar, and then some. James Vane and the foxy lass began to read as the fawn's harmonies wrapped them in a blanket of bliss, and they all 3 of them rose from the stage, smashed through the ceiling of the bar, and continued to rise ever upward. The crowd sat dumbfounded in a moonlit puddle of their own tears as the MC called up in utter bewilderment, "Can I borrow this? Sorry! Wait! Who are you guys?" And James Vane, almost to the brink of the heavens, gets to reply in an echoing sonic boom, "Fuck you! We are the gods!" Tune in next time for another episode of the Clyde Owen Show.
had to tell this all the time. We're going to take a brief break, and then when we come back, we have the open mic. We got lots to offer on that. We got Marvin Heimster coming back, Clara Sue, Lauren, Joshua, Hal, Matthew, Joseph, Buford, Zach, and Owen. We got a bunch of people coming up, and if you haven't signed in, there's still some space there. So I'm going to turn this off so I won't inadvertently record anybody saying anything. 7 or 8 minutes-ish, we'll have a break. Enjoy yourselves, and be who you are. Don't be someone else, because that's already done. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. 10 minutes or 9 minutes, something like that. Be good to yourselves.